I'm Mary Eversole, Executive Director of the Vermont Insurance Agents Association.
I'm Mike Piechek. I'm the Commissioner at the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. We regulate Vermont's financial services industry. For the last 3 months or so, I've also been leading the team modeling the COVID-19 data and forecasting. Thank you, Mary, for having me. It's a pleasure to be joined with you. Great to have an opportunity to talk to the BIAA members.
Commissioner Piechek, thank you for being with us today. DFR has been running full court press since the governor declared a state an emergency back in March. You and your team, you have jurisdiction over our industry, insurance. You have provided guidance on health insurance, business insurance, PPP, fraud, workers' comp, and retooled how CE is delivered and licensing exams. You've also taken on one of the most important components of the state's response, modeling. Could you update us on how the return premiums to Vermonters, how that is going, and how Vermonters benefited?
Yeah, for sure. The auto insurance premium refunds, I think, were a really important step for the industry. It was a recognition that their customers are really changing their behavior in a way that is really beneficial to the health crisis that we're dealing with as well. They were not driving as much, and as a recognition of that, the industry decided to implement these premium credits, which we fully supported.
Your day job kind of got changed in the course of this crisis. So how did DFR get drafted to do modeling data for the state?
I think the reason that, DFR got selected, we certainly have experience as actuarial modeling. Financial models are also important to the work that we do and the work of the industries that we regulate. But obviously, we're not epidemiologists, we're not infectious disease experts. So one of the first things we had to do was also sort of build out that partnership with people that are expert in this area.
What was done to create the projections early on when the crisis hit?
They call it the R-naught, which is basically how many people get infected by someone that has the virus. So if the R-naught is 1, on average, one person that's infected will give it to one other person. If the R-naught is 2, it's one person will give it to 2 people. The estimates have it initially as between 2 and 3. So every single person that has the virus will spread it to potentially 2 to 3 people. So that's kind of like the basic, understanding of how quickly is the virus going to grow for us to understand the modeling of what is the exponential growth that we can anticipate.
What do you think the modeling will look like through the summer and the fall?
What the modeling really shows us is so long as we have folks that can continue to work remotely, that we really shouldn't see a resurgence of the virus over the summer, that we should be able to keep our hospital resources low, and that we should be able to keep our case count low as well.
That's significant, and hopefully the way Vermonters responded from the onset of the crisis will continue. But here's a question: what is mobility data? You hear that thrown into the mix quite a bit. What does that mean?
We had received a model in late March from one of our modeling experts that showed us over the last 2.5 months at that time, basically from New Year's through late March, what the mobility was in Vermont. I can assure you the government's not tracking you. These are third-party apps, all done voluntarily, and then all done at the aggregate and anonymized levels. And you'll see that the data shows you that Vermonters were very mobile prior to the pandemic. As the different orders got put into place, including stay home, stay safe, they then became very compliant with those orders, and the mobility data really decreased dramatically.
Do you have a projection on how long this work from home order will stay in place? Rather, that's the preferred guidance.
I don't really see us transitioning at our department. I think it's going to be, June, July, and August that we're going to continue to be working remotely as we see how things play out in Vermont and elsewhere. That possibility of coming into contact with someone with the virus, we reduce that likelihood of that happening, and that benefits everybody.
Why did it take so long to report the recovery data?
We weren't just sort of modeling on assumptions, but that the epidemiological team was actually able to go and interview people and account for whether they had recovered or not, whether they were still exhibiting symptoms. Not based on an assumption that people get better after 14 days and then another percentage of the population is going to get better after 21 days. It's really, for the most part, that team following up with people that have been sick, understanding if they're still exhibiting symptoms. If they're not, and they're recovered, they mark them as recovered, and then we have a sense of how many have been actively marked recovered, how many are still exhibiting symptoms. Then we're able to focus on this active case count.
That's great. That's really helpful. I think that gave people a lot of hope too, that people are recovering from this virus.
Right. The brightest spot of all has been the response of Vermonters. Without Vermonters' adherence to these social distancing orders, without their acceptance of science and data and information, we would have been in a very different position.
We appreciate everything you did to help us do our jobs and to serve Vermonters in a very dire situation.
It's my pleasure to be here. We've always had a great relationship with the VIAA and with you, Mary. So I'm glad that relationship continues through an unprecedented pandemic. I also want to thank your members for the work that they're doing, both for individuals in Vermont and for businesses. They're doing great work as well, and I do want to recognize that and thank that too.
Your guidance from the department, being fair and reasonable, has helped them do their job. So we thank you for that acknowledgement.